Put a few tack welds on this piece to put this back in place, and this is going to hold the wheel wells and the outer skin at the right spacing for when I take this out. But I like to go and put a tape measure on here before I drill too many of these spot welds out. I've started here. I've actually got this completely disconnected. I had to put it back in there with a vice grip. Holding my tape measure butted up against this corner piece, and down here with my knee, that measures 3 feet and 1/8. It doesn't show up very well on camera, but when I do it without the camera, that's what shows up as 3 feet and 1/8. So I put my new piece in there, I'll know what to set it at. Should be free now, if I hit all the spot welds right. Now we get a good shot of what this looks like here. Not a lot of rust, just surface stuff that'll clean right up. Same thing down here on the driver's side. This brace here, this brace holds the hinge on the back side here, and it gives it the support for the bottom. If I decide to do like a drop down tailgate like a truck on this, then I won't need that. Here we can see the piece of box steel I'm going to use to replace this section with. It didn't need to be this thick. This is 3/16, but it's what my steel yard had in 3.5 inch, and this needs to be 3.5 inches here to match up with this body line here. And being that it's 3/16, I'll be able to mill this little step in here. You can kind of see it in the profile there. That way there in my sheet metal cab corner, I guess, whatever you call it, will make a nice flush fit and finish look. And I really need a fly cutter for doing that, but I don't have one. So I think I'm just going to spend forever with the mill, end mill, going back and forth, back and forth. Oh, also this small piece of 16 gauge 3/4 by 3/4 tubing is what I'm going to use to replace this. And this is falling over on me. This is 3/4 by 1/2, so I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit and weld it on top of here. But the purpose of this is to have a place for my weather stripping to hit on the bottom of the tailgate and make a good seal. Real quickly, I just put that piece up there and vice gripped it in. I haven't cut the relief notches yet, but it's looking pretty good. Looking real good. Getting set up to make this cut in this piece of box steel. And the way I've got this set up is I have my quill down a ways so I can get my magnetic base dial indicator on there. And I've set this point as 0. And when I crank the ways here, you see we still stay pretty well 0. It'll drop down to about 10 thousandths over, but then when I get back to this point here, it's 0'd again. And there's going to be some discrepancies in the rust and the mill scale on here, so it's not going to be absolutely perfect, and it doesn't need to be for what I'm doing, but I figured I'd just do this anyway. I'm about ready to make my cut. I've got a 3/4 inch end mill. I mounted up in here, and I've added one more mounting location here in the middle, in the back, and I've put the calipers onto here, and I came up with about 48 thousandths, so we're going to call that 50. And now I gotta get this set. I took a couple passes and I decided this is where I'm going to call 0, and this is 70 on this particular scale. I can't index this around. I don't have the right Allen wrench, so we're going to say 70 is 0. Okay, I finished with our cut here, and I've taken the calipers and I've set, if I do this with one hand, see the depth gauge there at the bottom. I'm going down, and we're about 54 thousandths, and of course it's different when you get right here in the middle. It's hard one hand and it's at an angle. We're at like 47 thousandths. So that's pretty good, pretty close. I got a piece of scrap sheet metal here, all rusty on one side. We put this down here, and you can tell it's pretty good. That'll make a nice flush line. Put a little bit of Bondo in there, you'd never see it. That's what we were looking for. So now I gotta flip this all over and do it again. Here's the rear piece put in place after the milling, and you can see the gaps here looking pretty good. It's nice and flush. This is a big gap here because down here it's nice and tight. Just, you know, due to gravity putting the piece in there. I've also put this piece of 3/4 inch box right in here, and I was able to take a measurement from the back of this to the front of this, and I know I need 34 3/4 inches from the back of diamond plate steel for my floor. Another thing is I had to measure this gap here and account for my measurement for my diamond plate, because I'm gonna notch this tubing and bring it out, the face of this out, flush with the face of this. And stock, they just kind of lobbed it off, but I think it'll look better if I bring it back out to the end of the to the fender well. Another thing is, look at the gap between the bottom of the tailgate and the top of this bump in the floor. And I'm pointing this out because this is 3/16 shorter than this piece of 3/4 inch box, and I think there's more than enough room to accommodate that. So, and the gaps are nice here, so I think I'm gonna leave that 3/16 proud. So I was gonna cut this piece of diamond plate tonight with my Plaza cutter and call it a night, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait on that, and I'm gonna bring this back to the steel yard, and I'm gonna have them put it in their shear and just nip off what I need. It'll be a lot nicer of a cut, because one of the edges is gonna be right here, and you're gonna see this. So I want that to be a nice crisp edge, and over there I want that to butt up against that piece of channel nice, so I have a good seal. So I think that's what I'll do. Not that the plasma cutter doesn't do a good job, it's just it'll be easier and less likely to screw up.